Hello, welcome to HITC Sport. Alright, remember the utter hype that swallowed all the half-decent players of the 2014 World Cup? Suddenly you had pundits linking the most average of footballers with big money moves. 6 years have passed since then, so I'm going to take a look at every country's footballer with the weirdest career moves since. Signing for a club you would have never predicted within a million years back then. Right, let's go. Brazil, Paulinho, Barcelona. Okay, if most Brazilian football fans had their way, then this shameful letdown of a football squad would probably be burned in a big fire. Good Christ, conceding 7 home in a World Cup semi-final is almost worthy of public death. There's a few career moves littered across the squad that nobody would have seen coming, like Thiago Silva moving to Chelsea, Neymar swapping Barcelona for PSG, or even Willian winding up at Arsenal. But no, without a shadow of a doubt, the weirdest transfer that nobody would have seen coming back in 2014 was Paulinho, that complete and utter Tottenham flop who was being outshone by Nabil Bentaleb. To say that he would someday wind up at Barcelona? If you were told that back in 2014, you'd probably shoot chunks of brain out your nose. Cameroon, Eric Choupo-Moting, PSG. Okay, back in 2014, Alex Song was a big money Barcelona signing. How many people saw him winding up in Switzerland at 30 years of age? The answer though is Eric Choupo-Moting. At the time, he's a 25-year-old striker off the back of a 10-goal season for Mainz 05. Tell him then that within 6 years he'd be playing in a Champions League final up front with Neymar at PSG, he would laugh in your face. Croatia, Eduardo Legia Warsaw. Okay, predicting Ivan Perisic, who back in 2014 was just a bang average winger for Wolfsburg, predicting that he would one day be part of a Bayern Munich team scoring 8 against Barcelona, the odds would have been stacked against him. But still, the answer is Eduardo. You know, the guy who was originally bought to replace Thierry Henry at Arsenal before his leg was turned into soggy wet noodles. By 2014, he was 31 and finishing up at Shakhtar Donetsk, ready to return to Brazil with Flamengo. I don't think anyone saw him ending his career out in Poland with Legia Warsaw, just very random. I'm pretty sure he doesn't speak Polish. Mexico, Raul Jimenez, Wolves. Javier Hernandez's weird career progression is worthy nominee for this list, but no, the answer without a shadow of a doubt for Mexico is Raul Jimenez. At the time, he's a 23-year-old Mexican hotshot who just smacked home 19 goals in the Mexican League for Club America. The guy who's been linked with half of Europe's top clubs, Atletico Madrid are about to snap him up. And considering Wolves had just finished top of League One with Lee Griffiths as top scorer, I don't think anyone ever saw them signing Jimenez. He most likely didn't have a clue who or what they were. Australia, James Troisi, Juventus. I could touch on Australia's god Tim Cahill returning to Millwall, but no, without a doubt, the weirdest future transfer was James Troisi to Juventus. This actually happened during the World Cup, and it made absolutely no sense then, and it still doesn't now. He was a 25-year-old winger, a Newcastle United reject who'd just been chucked around Turkey and Australia. And here he was signing for Juventus? Juventus? How? And why? Chile, Alexis Sanchez, Man United. Okay, back in 2014, Alexis Sanchez was hot property. A 25-year-old Barcelona winger who just backed home 19 league goals that season, suddenly he's been linked with Liverpool and Arsenal. Not Man United. They were tying up a move for Angel Di Maria, with most United fans still fantasizing about Ronaldo in the bath. Sure, they were linked with him in 2011 at Udinese, but the fact they chose Ashley Young instead kinda shows what the club really thought of him. I don't know, moving to Old Trafford after that, it just looked unlikely. Holland, Memphis Depay, Lyon. Ah yes, the Holland team who finished third at the World Cup in the Louis van Gaal. Listen, Jorginho Wijnaldum going from scoring against Brazil to winding up at Newcastle within a year was not on the cards. Similarly, Wesley Sneijder one day playing for Al Jarafa was also strange, but the clear answer here is Memphis Depay. At the time he was 20 years old, ripping up the Eredivisie with PSG, scored against Australia at the tournament. He was being held up as the Dutch Ronaldo, being linked with Europe's elite clubs. I don't know, telling him that he'd spent his peak years in France with Lyon, it would have been a bit underwhelming. Spain, Andres Iniesta, Vissel Kobe. Okay, I suppose being told that Cesc Fabregas would wind up in Monaco one day would have been a slight surprise. Let's go for Andres Iniesta. If ever a man had one club man rubber stamped on his face, it was this guy. So being told that this legendary World Cup winner wouldn't see out his career at the Nou Camp, but instead out the backers of Japan with something called Vissel Kobe, yeah, it would have been a bit of a surprise. Colombia, James Rodriguez, Everton. Okay lads, James Rodriguez was the star of the 2014 World Cup. He was the breakout star, top scorer, smashing the best goal. What else do you want? He was already getting shoved out the door to Real Madrid compared to Diego Maradona, seen as Ronaldo's natural heir, the Bernabeu. Instead, if you told him that actually by the age of 29 he'd be signing for Everton, good Christ, spending his late 20s halfway down the Premier League in a dressing room littered with Michael Keane, Theo Walcott and Fabian Delph, Christ above, this guy was supposed to be the next big thing. It's like Matt Cardle winning the X Factor, and then within 5 years he's back to scrubbing the Foot Locker toilets. Greece, Georgios Samaras, Samson Spor. Okay, I guess this wasn't a terrible surprise. We all knew back in 2014 that Georgios Samaras was beyond useless, just off the back of a 7-goal season for Celtic. But still, predicting he'd finish his career out in Turkey with something called Samsunspor, I'm guessing most of you have never heard of that club before in your life. Ivory Coast, Wilfred Boney, Al Ittihad. Okay, Wilfred Boney back in 2014 was apparently the next Didier Drogba. He just smashed home 25 goals in his debut season for Swansea City. This guy has been linked to big money moves for Man City, so predicting that by the age of 31 he'd be out the backers of Saudi Arabia with Al Ittihad, having spent last year trading with Newport County, you'd definitely be surprised. Japan, Shichi Kagawa, Real Zaragoza. Okay, back back in 2014, Shinji Kagawa was just getting out of a weary 2-year marriage with Man United, but still, he was only 25 years of age, and an absolute star in Japan, held up as one of the most exciting playmakers in Europe. Only 2 years earlier, he'd been the focal point of Jurgen Klopp's title-winning teams, so predicting that by the age of 30, he'd be in the Spanish second tier with Real Zaragoza, nobody really saw that one coming. Costa Rica, Joel Campbell, Club Leon. Okay lads, Joel Campbell was one of the surprise stars of the 2014 World Cup. After already scoring against Man United for Olympiacos in the Champions League that season, many Arsenal fans were begging for him to be recalled. Then, after absolutely tearing Uruguay apart of the World Cup, finishing above England in the group stage, fans were almost falling over themselves to bring him back to England. Why waste millions on new expensive signings when they already have one of the most promising attacking talents in the world on their books? So the fact he's 28 years old and reduced to signing for Club Leon out of Mexico probably proves that no, he wasn't the next Serge Gnabry. England, Joe Hart, Tottenham. Okay, back in 2014, Joe Hart was a Premier League champion at Man City, approaching his 5th consecutive season as the undisputed #1 at the Etihad. Tottenham, by contrast, had just finished 6th under Tim Sherwood, conceding 11 goals against City that season. So imagine being told that by age 33, Hart wouldn't be winning titles with Man City. No, he'd instead be Tottenham's third choice keeper. It wouldn't really make sense. Italy, Leonardo Bonucci, AC Milan. Okay, I could touch on Gianluigi Buffon quitting Juventus for PSG, which is like leaving your wife of 20 years for the young one on reception. That's where that went down to Buffon's midlife crisis. I'll go for Leonardo Bonucci though. Back in 2014, he was arguably one of the greatest defenders on planet Earth, comfortably stuck in Juventus' backline with Giorgio Chiellini. So being told that within 3 years he'd be signing for AC Milan, a club would finish 8th in the league in 2014, 45 points behind Juventus, it would just be sort of unbelievable. Forget that Milan are a big club. 45 points. That's like Virgil van Dijk winding up at Burnley. Uruguay, Diego Godin, Inter Milan. Okay, Diego Godin's stock was never higher than in 2014. A rock-solid centre half, he just scored in the Champions League final and won the league title with Atletico Madrid. Man United and Chelsea were the ones linked to this guy. So being told that his next career move would actually be to Inter Milan, who like AC were on their knees at the time, again, it would be surprising and probably underwhelming. This guy was probably dreaming about being teammates with Messi, Ronaldo, Lampard, not Ashley Bastard Young, France at Mamadou Sakho, Crystal Palace. There's a few I could choose for France. Being told that Patrice Evra would wind up at West Ham would be weird. Even tipping Paul Pogba to return to Old Trafford look off the cards back in 2014. And also, tipping Blaise Matuidi for Inter Miami, they didn't even exist back then. But I'm going to go for Mamadou Sakho. At the time, he was after finishing his debut season for Liverpool, having nearly won the league. Sure, he had a late season meltdown at Sellers Park, but did anyone think he'd end up signing for them 3 years later? Anyone? Honduras, Wilson Palacios, Real Sociedad. Okay, let's be honest, Wilson Palacios in 2014 was done. A one solid midfielder for Wigan and Tottenham, let's be honest, he'd been out of form for 5 goddamn years. On the books of Stoke City at 31 years of age and struggling to make the team, you'd assume he was about 6 months off retirement. Nobody thought that within 5 years he'd be at Real Sociedad, who back in 2014 were a Champions League level club with Antoine Griezmann stuffed up front. They were actually an ambitious club at the time. So to be signing Palacios 5 years down the line, oh how underwhelming. Switzerland, Fabian Schär at Newcastle. Okay, Fabian Schär in 2014 was a hotly rated 22-year-old centre half for Basel, being linked with moves to Arsenal. This guy was playing European football on an annual basis. Even Man United were sniffing around this guy as a replacement for Rio Ferdinand, who was off to chuck his career in a dishwasher at QPR. Schär was probably dreaming of playing Champions League football way into his 30s, not relegation battles at Newcastle under Steve Bruce, who at the time was coaching Hull. Lads, how underwhelming was this? Argentina, Ezekiel Lavezzi, Hebai China Fortune. Okay, if Lionel Messi did quit Barcelona, then the obvious answer would be him, but for now, step forward Ezekiel Lavezzi. At the time, he's a 29-year-old PSG attacker who just scored 12 goals that season and found himself being linked to replacing Luis Suarez at Anfield. So being told that instead he'd be spending his early 30s chucking his dignity in the bin in favour of a fat paycheck out the back arse of Asia with Hebai China Fortune, yeah, it would be a bit of a surprise. Bosnia, Mohamed Bezic, Sheffield United. Okay, yes, back in 2014, Mohamed Bezic was a highly rated 21-year-old midfield talent about to tie up a move to Everton. Predicted that by the age of 27 that this guy, earmarked as another Miralem Pjanic, will be playing for Sheffield United, just confusing, especially considering back then the Blades had just finished 7th in League One. Lads, Iran, Ashkan Dajaga, Wolfsburg. Ashkan Dajaga is one of Iran's greatest ever wingers, but back in 2014 was sloppily getting relegated from the Premier League with Fulham. He's currently playing for something called Tractor out in Azerbaijan. Sure, that makes sense, but time of move to Wolfsburg just didn't. Let's not forget, back in 2014 they just finished 5th in the Bundesliga with Kevin De Bruyne in their team. Tipping them to sign some piece of relegation belly button fluff like Dajaga within 3 years, it's on par with tipping Bayer Leverkusen to soon be dragging in Will Hughes. And if that happens, I'll gladly staple my nutsack to the fridge. Nigeria, Victor Moses, Inter Milan. Okay, back in summer 2014, Victor Moses' career was stuffed down a toilet bowl. Unable to get a look in at Chelsea, he just flopped out on loan with Liverpool and was about to be chucked out on loan to Stoke. Bit of a downgrade. So to be told that within 6 years he wouldn't be playing in the Championship but would instead be playing alongside Christian Eriksen and Romelu Lukaku at Inter Milan? Just what? Germany, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Chicago Fire. Okay, I'll tell you for a fact, not a living soul on the planet, not even Mesut Ozil himself, thought he'd still be at Arsenal 6 years later. I'm guessing nobody predicted that Mario Götze, the guy who scored the World Cup winning goal in the final, would soon be finding himself unemployed on the couch. But the answer is Bastian Schweinsteiger, who even at the age of 29 was one of the best midfielders in the world and looking to finish his one club legacy career with Bayern Munich. No, instead he was only 3 years off signing for Chicago Fire, some MLS club only formed in 1997. Christ, his fall from grace since 2014 was almost on par with Iggy Azalea. Ghana, Kevin Prince Boateng, Barcelona. Only one answer here. In 2014, the journeyman Kevin Prince Boateng was 27 and out in Germany with shock. A talented player, sure, but come on, who saw him signing for Barcelona within 4 years? I don't care if it was only on loan. Just an absolutely ridiculous signing. Portugal, João Moutinho, Wolves. Okay, I could pick Cristiano Ronaldo moving to Juventus, which looked so far off the cards back in 2014, but no, even more ridiculous than that was João Moutinho soon winding up at Wolves. Again, he was only one season deep into a £70 million switch from Porto to Monaco. Wolves, by contrast, had just spent the season in League One. USA mixed discorud Man City. Okay, well, Jermaine Jones is currently playing indoor football for Ontario, so that's a shout. As is Julian Green, you know, that teenage wonder kid on the books at Bayern Munich, who became the USA's youngest ever goal scorer at the 2014 World Cup. Who saw him not fulfilling that promise, but instead spending his mid-20s with SBV GG Grutter Forth, halfway down the German second tier, but still, he doesn't make the list. Instead is Mix Diskerud, who in 2014 was a 23-year-old midfielder struggling to cut it at Rosenborg out in Norway. Did anyone see him getting snapped up by Man City within 4 years? Anyone? Algeria, Riyad Mahrez, Man City. Okay, back in 2014, Riyad Mahrez was a talented player, sure, but he was 23 and had just spent the season scoring 3 goals in the championship for Leicester City. A £60 million move to Man City? Just no, not a flicker of a chance. Belgium, Thibaut Courtois, Real Madrid. Okay, back in 2014, everyone knew that Thibaut Courtois was a top-class goalkeeper, but he just reached the Champions League final and won the La Liga title with Atletico Madrid. Most people assumed he'd become the next Petr Cech at Stamford Bridge, not stabbing Atletico fans in the back by one-day signing for their mortal enemies. Russia, Alexander Kokorin, Spartak Moscow. This wasn't a massive surprise, but I don't know. Alexander Kokorin had just spent 6 years with Dynamo Moscow, and he's recently just signed for Spartak Moscow. I don't know, it's a bit of a trader move. South Korea, Ki Sung-young, Newcastle. And finally for South Korea, let's say Ki Sung-young, who in 2014 had just reached the League Cup final with Sunderland. Predicting him to one day wear the black and white colours of the most hated rivals, I didn't think he had it in him, especially considering he would have witnessed the utter barrage of hate sent the way of Jack Colback that summer. Anyway, that's the end of it, guys. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.